Is Russia genuinely ready to compromise to end the fighting? Could the end of this war be in sight, or is this just maneuvering essentially for greater advantage on the battlefield? Let's answer those questions with Max Seddon. He's the Moscow bureau chief for the Financial Times, who's coming to us today from Latvia because, like our own James Longman and others, it's more and more difficult to report in Russia without getting accused of a crime for using the word war. Max, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. So
you've been following these peace talks closely. The negotiators say there's progress, and I've been following your coverage as well. It does feel like it, but we just heard Secretary of State Antony Blinken saying he doesn't think Russia's serious about this. How do you read the peace talks right now?
No, absolutely. That's the biggest question about these peace talks is why, when Vladimir Putin has been so strident about essentially wanting to end Ukraine's existence as we know it, whether Russia, even given they haven't done as well on the battlefield as they clearly hope, whether they are negotiating in good faith. And it's not just the U.S. A lot of Ukraine's European allies and Ukrainian officials themselves, they're worried that Russia could just be using this as a smokescreen to try to play for time, to maybe get a temporary ceasefire, to replenish their armed forces and begin a new offensive. But for Ukraine, I think absolutely anything that they can go for, they have to, because they need to protect their citizens. And it looks like Russia is prepared to demand less from Ukraine in these talks than Putin has originally said. Of course, we won't really know how serious Russia is until we see what Putin does. And I think everyone involved in these talks is pretty clear about that it's Putin alone who's going to decide whether Russia is actually going to take this seriously or not.
He's the decision maker. So the proposed deal, it looks like it involves Ukraine renouncing its ambitions to join NATO. That's in their constitution, of course. And this has been a sticking point. This is one of the reasons Putin is given for starting this war in the first place. Do you think that's possible for Ukraine to do? And so are we seeing movement there?
Well, if you look at what President Zelensky and other Ukrainian officials have said in recent days, they've pretty much accepted that NATO membership is not going to happen for them. NATO won't tell them, but they've come to this conclusion themselves. And one of the reasons why they're involved in these talks to begin with, without any direct involvement from the West, is there's a certain sense on the Ukrainian side, and Zelensky has made this very clear, speaking to Congress, speaking to the British Parliament, speaking to the Bundestag, that Ukraine feels kind of let down by the West, and they feel like they have to ensure their own security. So the issue for Ukraine is less NATO. It's more who is going to protect Ukraine in case it's attacked again. And one of the options being discussed is where the P5 powers of the current members of the Security Council and neighboring countries like Germany and Turkey would to defend Ukraine. But that's very unclear still, because these countries aren't directly involved in the talks. And how is that any different at the end of the day from NATO? Why would Russia agree to that? And why would all these Western countries sign up to potentially go to war with Russia on Ukraine's behalf, which they've all said many times they don't want to do? We don't really know. So we will have to see how these talks pan out, whether that really is something that could get the buy-in from all the countries that it needs to, because this is ultimately something that, even if Ukraine and Russia settle this out directly, this is still going to need backing from Ukraine's supporters, especially the U.S.
Great point. And just listening to you, it does feel, as we all can sense, that European security arrangements are going to change because of this, and NATO may be part of that, or some way of thinking anew about European security. Max Seddon of the Financial Times, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.